Welcome to the most must-see podcast in pro wrestling history. Welcome to Mark's Side of the Ring. Our views, our opinions, our predictions, spoiler-free, and all things AEW and WWE. I am your main Mark, Miguel Minetti, alongside are my two co-hosts, Nick Fiorentino and Fred Decor. What's going on, boys?
What's happening there, Miguel?
What's up, man?
How's everything today, ladies and gentlemen? We also have a special guest on for our special episode, returning friend of the show, PJ North. What's going on, PJ?
What up? Thanks for having me back, fellas. I appreciate y'all.
Absolutely. We're excited to have you on today, PJ. We know you're an avid wrestling fan. We had you on last time. It was a lot of fun, and we said we had to do it again. So
I'm in. I'm happy to be here. Let's talk. I'm ready to talk some WrestleMania.
Absolutely. And like we mentioned last week, ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special episode tonight for you. What we're going to do today is we're going to do the greatest WrestleManias of all time, our draft, just like we did for the Royal Rumble. We did it for theme music, WWE theme music, and I think we did it for one other topic. But we're back again with this today. And earlier today, we did our draft pick order here. So PJ, in a moment, we're going to kick it off with the very first pick. We're then going to move on to Fred, to Nick, and then myself. But just like the previous drafts, they're all going to be snake order. So since I'm last, give my first pick. I'll go back to back with my second pick as well, too. So, gentlemen, are you guys ready to begin?
Go.
Ready as I'll ever be. This may be the only time in my life I've ever been a first pick. So let's go, boys. Giddy up.
Well, you got the honor, PJ. Without further ado, sir, very first pick. What do you consider to be the very best WrestleMania of all time?
Man, I had to go. So I told you guys I ranked my WrestleManias from best to worst, or from worst to best, I should say. You know, I flip around, but it was a struggle for me because I've been a fan kind of my whole life, so I've seen a lot of different WrestleManias as we all have, and of course now with the network and everything. But I went with WrestleMania 17, Rock Austin, TLC, Triple H Undertaker, Vince McMahon, Shane McMahon. I think it does, not a ton to be said about that. It's just one of those pay-per-views that I can still watch today and be interested in. The rewatchability is a big thing for me. But, of course, it's probably the most streamed. I would say it's probably the most memed wrestling thing is the spear, right? Or, the most, used GIF is the spear during TLC. But Austin, turning at that point, it's also the first one after WCW is gone. It's really just it's set trajectory of pro wrestling into a different atmosphere, I think. And so I think for me, that was definitely the best WrestleMania ever, WrestleMania 17.
So I got to ask you, did you watch that one live? And if so, what were your thoughts when you saw it happen?
I did watch it live. So my neighbors across the street were wrestling fans as well. And we watched 16 or 2000 together, of course, which was cool because it had the all-day WrestleMania thing, and so planned on it for 17. And I remember watching it live and being like, I was invested at that point. I was 13 years old, so I was fully not even 13 at that point, but I was fully invested, into it. And I really thought, I think my favorite thing was probably, I'm a big tag team wrestling fan, so of course the ladder match was probably my favorite part, I think. But also, of course, Rock, Austin were the two biggest wrestlers of our generation. I think Ric Flair was on the tail end of that piece. So it's really those two guys, really the polarizing figures in wrestling. And seeing Shane McMahon, with the trash can, with the coast to coast is, who doesn't want to drop kick their dad at one point in their life?
Absolutely.
I think what's lost in that one too, like you mentioned, all the great matches. I'm not even sure if you mentioned Angle and Benoit, but another incredible match. But you know what's lost in that is even the gimmick battle royal with you get to see a bunch of returning people, but Bobby the Brain Heenan and Mean Gene Okerlund on commentary are absolute gold. There's nothing to hate about that. You could knock the ending if you don't want Austin being heel, but there's nothing else to knock about that pay-per-view. It was fucking great.
Yeah, I agree. That's why I think top to bottom is even like you said, the gimmick battle royal, the Pete Rose thing, right, with the Kane tombstone and all that stuff, and that's a huge. I just remember too because it was they had. I remember the GameCube at that point was about to pop off, and they had the wrestling game and all that stuff, and everything just kind of came together for 17. It really felt like it was the thing for them, right, at that time. So I felt like it was definitely the best. It was hard. I'll tell you when you see my second pick, if it doesn't get picked, well, you can see why it was tough.
And not to forget, too, I think it, in my opinion, also had the greatest video promo leading up to a match of all time, right? That Rock Austin, My Way by Limp Bizkit. I mean, my cousin just sent me a TikTok today, and today's the 20-year anniversary of WrestleMania, actually. And, man, I watched that promo back this morning, and I was like, holy shit. Like those.
That's what I'm saying. Nothing but bangers. Just nothing, everything about it. And I did forget Angle Benoit. So I was watching back this morning. I watched the main events of my top ones, like my top 5 or 6. And I totally forgot because my favorite is another match that they had was a previous one. And so I was like, oh man, I didn't even really think about that until you just mentioned that too, because Angle is at that point, like really peaking. I mean, about to hit Perk Angle here, like 2003. It's about to really turn up. So, there's just nothing but bangers on that pay-per-view, man.
Absolutely.
17 is amazing. I mean, when Angle and Benoit gets lost in the shuffle, that shows you how strong of a card it is, right? You know,
it's crazy.
I remember Regal and Jericho opening that night, and that was a pretty good match too, right? I mean, I got the crowd rocking that night, and that was the first match of the show. I think the only match that didn't deliver on that whole pay-per-view was China versus Ivory for the women.
Yeah, that was what it. You know, I mean, I thought the hardcore title match was great. The triple threat with Kane, Raven, and Big Show.
Yeah.
They went backstage and went through the wall and the glass.
Yeah, Raven was a big deal there, man, too, because he had just come off the WCW and ECW thing, didn't really pan out for him, and he was really turning a weird corner at that point. But China still did it for me back then, man, so I can't, I'm going to – it is what it is. China still did it for me, so, whatever. I was like, okay, I'll watch this. I enjoyed it.
And we forgot the best part, too, is that Motorhead performed for the first time.
I was just going to say, yeah.
Right? Like,
kick-ass performance.
I remember so jacked up watching that moment. Like, I was freaking out watching that moment.
I bet you did jack off to that moment, Miguel.
Big Motorhead fan.
That's right, baby. Big Motorhead.
Only Miguel and Triple H are big Motorhead fans. It's a known thing. Everybody loved Lemmy, but literally only Triple H and Miguel listen to Motorhead.
Exactly. We're probably the only 2 fans in the world. But yeah, nevertheless, 17, great first pick, PJ. We're going to move on now to Fred. You have the honors with your very first pick, sir. So I think I know yours, but why don't you go ahead and tell the world here your pick.
So my pick for my favorite WrestleMania, and while 17, I mean, you picked it, so I can't, would have been a strong contender to pick it, but in my heart, my favorite WrestleMania is the first one that I ever went to in person, WrestleMania 20, Madison Square Garden, where it all begins again. I mean, the fact that it was my first WrestleMania in person and it was the 20th anniversary, it is what it is. That makes it special, but the card really is insane. Like, we have these long WrestleManias now that's become commonplace and to the point that people can't stand them anymore. But that was the first one of its kind. It was almost like 5 hours. Now, at that point, WrestleMania was a special 4-hour presentation. They did like almost 5 hours for 20. They promoted it. To this day, they haven't promoted a WrestleMania like they did 20. It was on the corner of every pay-per-view poster. There was a little WrestleMania 20 logo. That was the first year they did the sign. They had that sign from June all the way to Mania. Like, I mean, WrestleMania commercials, every show. It was crazy. They haven't, not even 30, they haven't promoted a WrestleMania like, I mean, WrestleMania has gotten bigger and bigger since then, but the way they promoted it for such a long period of time, it was just a different beast. But I mean, the main event speaks for itself. In my opinion, the best triple threat in wrestling history. Benoit, Triple H, Shawn Michaels, tremendous. It's a shame that it can't be, celebrated, at least by WWE, anymore. That moment with Benoit and Angle, Benoit and Eddie at the end with the confetti falling, just incredible that those 2 guys that weren't supposed to make it are standing at the biggest WrestleMania of all time in Madison Square Garden, both world champions. Had the return of the Phenom, The Undertaker, with that character, surprising Paul Bearer. Speaking of Guerrero and Angle, their match was amazing. There was so much on there. John Cena's breakout moment, becoming U.S. champion, the Evolution Rock and Sock Connection match. I mean, there was so much. Trish Stratus turning heel with following a great match between Jericho and Christian, which I thought was a great story.
Yeah, it was.
You know, with
there
them,
was a lot in that.
There was a lot. That was a long build up for that match. They were only third on the card, but you know, it is what it is in a card like that. But they had a great feud, and then to have the Trish Stratus heel turn at the end, which nobody saw coming. You know, just tremendous. There was a special feeling that night at the Garden. To this day, I've been to a ton of WrestleManias, maybe ones that technically were better. I don't know, or definitely maybe bigger, but
I don't know, man.
20 will never top it. It's the only WrestleMania I watch it every year. It's like Christmas. I watch it every year. I have to. And it's tremendous.
20 was a top 10 for me. The only thing that sucks about 20 is, I mean, Goldberg and Lesnar, right? I mean, that's like you had your three biggest bald-headed dudes in the country, and they all just kind of it was just all bad. But otherwise, the angle or the Cena moment, you know, the FU deal, that was a huge deal, man. 20 was a wild ride from top to bottom. The Benoit thing, I mean, that's the great thing about the Garden, right? Is that there's always this moment where the wrestlers come out at the Garden because of where the entranceway is, right? It's always like this perfect thing. And like, that was just like a great way to send off the last Mania being indoors, basically, right? That's the last one I think that they did that was technically inside.
In an arena
setting. Yeah, in an arena setting or whatever. So I definitely think, I agree, man. Every match on there too was like a banger. And that's the thing, Jericho, that at that moment, I was thinking about that today, is at that moment, he's the best mixed tag, non-specific tag team breakup guy in the ever. There's nobody that's ever done a better job of being in a tag team, breaking up, and then feuding afterwards better than Jericho. He's done it with everybody, and it's always been bangers. And that match with Christian, watching him last night is what made me trigger that, because I was like, man, Christian really missed the boat in WWE. Did he miss the boat in WWE, or was he just, you know, whatever? And I was like, damn, he was really that good. And that turn and Trish Stratus is just what a 20 on a 10 scale.
She still is. I mean,
even
16, whatever that was now, 17 years later, she still looks good.
And
wild.
Too. I met her at what I meet her at 34? No, 33? 33 or 34. Were you with me?
At Access?
Yeah,
she was that one I tried to get and I couldn't get it. I was pissed. I met her years ago at Mohegan Sun. I ran into her.
She's very friendly.
But she was nice in that quick meetup. But yeah,
34. I met her at WrestleCon at 34. Yeah.
At WrestleCon, because she was at an Access a couple of years ago, and I tried, but her line was obviously crazy.
You know, love to hear 20.
What I also liked about WrestleMania 22 is I think it was the first time that they started to implement the setting, right, like the stage setting. Because if you remember at the Garden, right, back then, obviously technology isn't what it is today, but the video screens had the skyscrapers, right? And I remember specifically when Kane's music hit,
everything was on fire.
Yeah,
right? Everything went on fire, and I think that's when they really started to get the ball rolling with certain stages there.
You know, I was obsessed. There were two things from the aesthetic setting, as far as that's concerned. It was the first time, and they didn't do it for a while. Now it's become commonplace every night on Raw. But the top of the ramp, or not really the ramp part, but like where they first come out, that ground was all screens.
Oh, that's right. Yeah,
that was a huge deal at the time. That was awesome. And then I love the pyro, the opening pyro. They did this pyro up the ramp. I don't know if they've ever done it since. They had a string of pyro go up. Like that's up the ramp to the stage. It was really cool.
In the intro, right? That's in the intro.
Yeah. And then another cool thing that they did pyro outside of the Garden.
Oh, that's dope.
The funny thing about that is they actually did it like in the match prior to when the segment showed, because I remember hearing a loud ass bang, and I'm thinking, what the fuck was that? Right? Like, what the fuck?
Classic Vince McMahon planning. Okay, let's do this first.
And then you know, the match ended, and they show that footage. You know, so that wasn't really live. It was whatever 5 minutes before. But yeah,
where'd you sit at? Where did you?
I actually had really good seats. And now it's all changed there. But it was section 41, row J, so 10th row, and 41 was like if the ring is, right in the center, I was literally like right here, like
Oh wow.
diagonal. Yeah.
Clutch.
Really, really good seats, and I was really lucky. Those were hard tickets to get. My friend that I went with stayed home. This is how young we were in school. Stayed home from school, took the day to get the tickets.
Because you had to call a Ticketmaster, right? Basically, or like go to a Kroger and get them.
I mean, they still did have Ticketmaster, but at this point, it was online.
Okay.
It was so he.
Yeah, I guess that's 04. So
but it wasn't like computers, at.
It's like dial up. He started dialing up the night before.
And he texted
all right, I think we've timed it perfectly.
We did have texting. I was like shitting my pants in class, waiting. And he texted me the section. I was like, holy shit, I couldn't believe it. And
That's
at
amazing.
that time, they were like $250 or something like that. Now they would have been like $1,500. But yeah.
Crazy.
Yeah.
Definitely a good pick. Awesome pick, Fred. So Nick, you're up next. So let's hear now your first pick, buddy.
So I had this whole thing planned. Obviously, it's April Fool's Day. I was going to pick the Vegas one.
We'll get to Vegas later.
And I wanted to see how far I can go before one of you guys were like, "What the fuck?" So happy April Fool's Day to everybody.
That actually would have been a good idea.
Yeah,
really
but
sell
just hard sold it.
At this rate, we might not get through 2 rounds. So I want
not then. Brett loses the title, Yokozuna wins, but then Hogan. It's insane.
I was going to say with the opening match between Shawn Michaels and Tatanka, and then you had Crush, and you had
Shawn and Tatanka may be the only decent match on the card.
It was pretty good, actually. Yeah. So for me, like I agree with both of your picks in terms of like great manias, but for my picks, I kind of also added in, how it made me feel, like the atmosphere that I was in when I was watching it, things that I'll never forget. And I don't know if Miguel's going to pick either of mine. So I'm going to go with the one that I think he would pick if I didn't pick it. And I do think if I had the first overall pick, I probably would have picked it anyway. And to me, it's WrestleMania 30. And there's a lot of reasons why. I'll never forget.
That was going to be it.
Like the look or I can't say I'll never forget the look on my face, but the way my wife describes it. Because obviously after the third F5, I assumed The Undertaker was going to kick out. And the only way I can describe it is, I guess, I'm sure you guys have all seen Jurassic Park, but when they first see the Brachiosaurus for the first time and the look on their faces, when they're first staring at it, like, that's the only thing I can say and how I could describe probably how I looked. My wife always tells me, she's like, I'll never forget the way you look. But besides that aside, a moment we'll never forget. You had Triple H versus Daniel Bryan in an incredible match. You had the triple threat at the end, which was absolutely fantastic. Not to the level of WrestleMania 20, but a really great triple threat.
Mm-hmm.
But even before all of that, you had, and I'm sure they're not my Mount Rushmore, but at least 2 of them are for sure. But there are millions upon millions of wrestling fans who their Mount Rushmore, 3/4 of them were in the opening with The Rock, Austin, and Hogan. I thought they knocked that out of the park.
That's probably, not to cut you off, that's probably one of the greatest moments in WrestleMania history.
Yeah. Because I don't think The Rock was planned. At this point, I don't remember. I know Hogan was. He opened it.
Right. We knew Hogan was the host. Austin was rumored to be there. Rock, we had no idea.
Right. So when his music hit, you could see the genuine looks on people's faces.
I remember jumping on my chair.
Yeah.
When The Rock came out. Incredible.
I believe it. And, even the matches, you had Cesaro picking up Big Show. There's just moments that you'll never forget. And, of course, they had some bad matches. You had the New Age Outlaws and, the Shield in a 15-second match.
They got cut short. They were supposed to have a little longer. They got cut short. But they got the Shield over. And they were ahead of their time, huh? The Shield with their face masks? Yeah, now we're all going to have them this year.
The only thing I would bitch about, if I had to bitch about anything at all, is I will go to my grave saying there was no reason for John Cena to beat Bray Wyatt at WrestleMania. Yeah, and I think it sets up a pattern of multiple WrestleManias that Bray Wyatt should not have lost at WrestleMania. And that being said, the match
except The Undertaker.
fucking great. I see. I would have beat him then too, only because he had already lost. It was over. But I don't think you can say anything really bad about it. It's an incredible WrestleMania, and to me, it's one I'll never forget.
Yeah.
And
I think 30 is phenomenal. I mean,
not to mention, I'm not just saying this. I'm a fan. That's my favorite Triple H entrance of all time. I remember because I was at WrestleMania 30 also. I mean, that entrance when
that is I don't know if it's my favorite one.
Yeah,
but it's up there.
The throne with Charlotte, Sasha, and Alexa Bliss. This is before their time. Obviously, they were just rookies in NXT. That was such an awesome moment.
You know what's cool about that? If you watch it was the first 24 they ever did, right? And they show that it's Alexa, Charlotte, and Sasha. And after the match, Triple H says, "How was that? It's just your first time. It's not your last. Trust me." And little do we know, of course not. They've had many moments. Charlotte has main evented a WrestleMania. Sasha may be on the verge of doing that next Saturday. I don't know.
We don't know. You're right.
So yeah.
Oh, they know.
And Alexa,
that today, though. They confirmed that today.
What? That it's main event.
That Sasha versus Bianca is Saturday night's main event.
They did?
No.
Yeah,
I
I'm
missed
like
that.
something. Oh, that may have been. Someone posted it last night. I thought it may have been April.
It's been talked about because a lot of people say that Drew and Bobby should open the show and Sasha and Bianca should close it, which I'm not opposed to.
I think that match should be a banger, but 30 is a.
But yeah,
the Daniel Bryan thing is the only thing I really like. I remember the other stuff, but the Daniel Bryan is like if you're at like highlight, like that's the one moment that you like. Everybody has the moment that they remember from each Mania or whatever. The Daniel Bryan thing, just like overcoming that deal, was and that moment was.
Not to cut you off, PJ, but think about this. We're at WrestleMania 30. What other moment could you have possibly thought that would have gotten fans to go as crazy as they did when 30 minutes earlier The Undertaker lost his streak?
Yeah.
I think
there's no other way.
Bryan's the only one that could have pulled that off. Even for me personally, I remember. The win was beyond out of my sales. It had gone away. It was
right.
Because Undertaker's my favorite. That's
that's fair.
And I still am mad that they ended it. But anyway, I was like not even mad. I was sad, like legit sad. And the Divas Vicky Guerrero Invitational, I don't even know if I watched 1 minute of it. I just couldn't.
It was right after Undertaker, right?
It was right after.
That's the thing about the Undertaker moment. I still don't understand like why that didn't close. Except you want to send fans home happy at the end.
Right,
right?
Yeah,
but like the Taker thing was like, you're either like a love or hate Taker thing, or you're like, you can be kind of like, I'm kind of in the middle. Like I get he's a great wrestler. Like, he's a great character and he had a lot of banger matches. Like his later stuff is whatever, but that moment of him losing was pretty wild to me, but I really didn't put it in it. Like that part didn't hit me because I'm not like a diehard Undertaker guy. So for me, I was like, oh, damn, that is crazy loss. But like for everyone else, though, like that's their moment from the thing. They're like, oh, yeah, Daniel Bryan won, whatever.
Let me play devil's advocate for a minute with you, PJ. Don't you think if they ended it with that match, it would have telegraphed that something major might have been in store? Because obviously going into it, the biggest storyline was the Daniel Bryan thing. And if you remember, the Undertaker Brock thing wasn't really like a major storyline. Like they got together. But they were building off a history that they had with like the Hell in a Cell, like way back in Brock's first run. To me, it felt like, because I remember being there the year before, and I kept praying to God that Punk and Undertaker would close the show because I wanted Punk to end the streak so bad. And I was like, if that closes a show, it's breaking. Like he's going to break the streak. Because the last thing I wanted to see was that second Cena Rock match, because I felt like that was telegraphed more than anything. Rock wasn't going to win 2 in a row. So I did not want that match to close the show. But
that's a good point. I didn't really think about it that way from a booking side. That 100, at this stage, every time I think I know, I'm like, damn, I have no idea, man. We were talking about Vegas. I was talking about 9. I'll tell you a funny story about 9. That's the first WrestleMania that I really remember live. I don't really remember any of the others like live. Especially before that, like I've seen all the others because I had the tape. So like, the VHS, I owned all of them from 1 to 7, but 9, for me, or I'm sorry, 1 to 8, but 9 was my first one live. And I remember like, yo, this is so dope. Like the entrances were cool. They were different. I was like, man, this is awesome. And then I was reading today, like, as I was like trying to refresh my memory about some of the cards, the ones I don't remember. And the first thing that it said was like, the best part, I think the dude who does Botchamania, Matthew or whatever, posted, he's like, my favorite part about WrestleMania 9 is that Scott Steiner takes a flapjack over the rope and lands on his head. And I was like, man, I totally forgot that even happened.
You're right.
I get what you're saying, though, because my first WrestleMania that I watched live as a fan and that I was even a fan for was 15. And
Okay.
I thought that was the bee's knees. I thought that was the greatest pay-per-view in history. And it still holds a special place in my heart, and I still love 15. But really, 15's not that great of a WrestleMania when you really watch it. There's really no, besides Austin and Rock in the main event, which is an amazing match.
Yeah.
And saves the show. It's really not, there's no great match on there. Like, it's just a bunch of matches.
My pick, Fred. You stole my pick.
Oh, yeah, I'm sorry. Hold on.
Did I really?
Miguel, what's your pick?
No. I'm kidding.
Yeah, because, I mean, part of me could pick 15 because it's my first one and it has a special place, but I can't justify picking 15 because it's really not a good
about it today. I legit thought about 9. I was like, damn, if it gets into the later rounds, because that's just like one of those moments you're like, man, this is terrible. Now I look back and I'm like, man, and everything we know, right?
15
everything
is
we know about the sport, like that kind of takes a little bit of the allure away from it. Mm-hmm. But I was like, man, this is real hard to watch.
I mean, 15 is not 9 bad. I don't know if there's anything that's 9 bad, with the exception of one other one, which I'm sure we'll get to later on.
I hope it's 36.
Oh, well, that I'm not. I don't even want to. That one.
We're not.
All right, Miguel. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Get off topic. Good. No, 30 is a great pick though, and I could tell you there from being also their firsthand experience that your pin drop when Taker lost. It was so quiet. But
I drowned myself at Pat O'Brien's and Hurricanes that night. Yes, sir.
I'm sure you did, buddy. I'm sure you did. But Daniel Bryan saved the night, even though it was at the expense of Triple H at one point. Sad, but
like every other WrestleMania.
I know. I get disappointed. But my first pick is going to be a WrestleMania that Triple H actually won at, and it's not going to be.
So it's not 12.
It's not going to be
out
because of him winning at WrestleMania, but in my opinion, one of the greatest WrestleManias of all time, which is WrestleMania 19.
That was going to be one of mine. That is Miguel, underrated as all hell.
It is. It is actually one of the most underrated WrestleManias, in my opinion. I mean, you had so many fantastic matches. I mean, just to kick it off, right? Austin and Rock. The last time that Austin would ever wrestle was in front of at WrestleMania 19. We didn't know at the time. It wasn't probably the best match. I like 17 a little bit better out of the 3 that they had, but man, oh man, how iconic it is going back. And then, of course, in addition to that, again, maybe not a particularly amazing match, but just the story behind Mr. McMahon versus Hulk. The story behind that, the drama in the match itself. Holy shit! Like
my favorite part
today,
with Vince.
Holds up. Yeah, right.
Above the ring with that blood on him, right at the ring apron.
Like great camera angle.
He knew it. You know, that was a shot they knew to get, and that grin on his face with the blood. It just goosebumps.
It's amazing. That same camera guy, that same producer is the guy that's like, hey, pan to the fans right now.
Yeah, he had a crimson mask on his face. But, I mean, we still talk to this day, right, about Kurt Angle versus Brock Lesnar. I mean, the match was just absolutely incredible. One of the most iconic moments in WWE history is when Brock Lesnar does a shooting star press off the top rope and nearly breaks his freaking neck while doing the shooting star press. I mean, the match was just tremendous all around. And then, of course, you had Jericho versus Shawn Michaels. I mean, there was just so many good matches that night. I would easily put it up against any of the other top WrestleManias as the number one WrestleMania of all time. So
yeah, I had 19 as number 3 on my list. I just, they had a lot of great matches. I think the only bad thing about 19 was didn't Albert, and that was like the Albert tag teaming against Undertaker and Nathan Jones or whatever, right?
Thank God, though, they chose at the last minute to take Nathan out, and it became a handicap match.
Yeah, he was terrible.
Still solo. He didn't have a tag match at WrestleMania.
It was still terrible.
It was still.
But 19 was great.
But the awesome entrance though for Taker.
Yeah. That was true. I do.
Well,
I thought
Biscuit?
I'm a huge Seattle fan, so Safeco Field holds a special place in my heart, and I thought it was really cool. I thought everything it did. I love Angle. I mean, Angle's one of my favorite wrestlers. Just every match he has, just puts on a show, and that was a great one with Lesnar. I mean, even Lesnar, winnings, whatever. But that was 19 is a really, really great pay-per-view for sure.
And
I gotta say one thing though, and it kills me that you said one of the reasons you're picking it is Triple H's first.
No. That's not why.
I did not. There is no reason why Booker T shouldn't have beaten Triple
Yeah,
H that night.
I'm a huge
And
Triple H fan, but Booker
I
should have won that.
understand why they went the way that they went, and I understand what Triple H was trying to say, but it does leave a weird taste in your mouth when Triple H is saying things like people like you don't win the title like people like me, or I'm paraphrasing what he said, but it was a weird. And I know Conrad's called out Bruce on it before on their podcast and stuff. It was odd, and I know we meant WCW people, but it's just a weird thing. I really felt like Booker T deserved to win
But
that.
there was
night.
I don't know if they meant that. There was a lot of innuendo in that feud, and that would
weird
not
stuff.
happen today.
No.
See, that's also one of those things that's kind of one of those things that I forget about 19 because I'm such a Booker T. I love Booker T.
I wanted him to win.
Prior to WWE, Booker
was
T
hot
is
going
one of
on.
my top 5 wrestlers. Like WCW Booker T, all the way up until like basically that year, 2003, he was one of my favorites. And I was like, and I like Triple H too. I like Triple H a lot. But I was like, damn, Booker T. And then it kind of all went downhill for Booker at that point. I mean, he was still engaged, but like he never had a title run after that. He was king, but like, you know what I mean? Like
Not
from that
till 06.
perspective.
Yeah, like I thought they could have carried on with Booker.
Yeah, he had a lot left in the tank. He became a mid-level main event guy. He became a losing main event.
So much more.
Yeah,
Yeah,
he could have
For
been
sure,
Raw,
but still
one of Raw's
19
biggest stars.
No, 19's
19
good.
But
19's
and they still had a great match, the two of them.
Oh, they did.
Yeah.
It's a good match. It's not one of my favorite Triple H WrestleMania matches, but it still holds up. And
You like the purple trunks?
yeah, the joke I said before is he actually won at this WrestleMania, which is one of my favorite WrestleManias. But
right.
it's not one of my favorite Triple H WrestleMania matches. But
Fair.
nevertheless, a really, really strong show. And I love the fact, too, that it was at I think this was the one that was at a baseball field, right? Was that
It's at Safeco
Field.
Safeco
That's
Field
it.
was in Seattle. Yep.
Great look to it. It had a very cool look.
right?
The way the entrance, it was like.
Well, the stadium was relatively new at that point. They had just left the Kingdom. So they just left the Kingdom like a year prior because Griffey got traded in like, 03, and then A-Rod signed. So, yeah, they just left the Kingdom. Safeco is a great place, yeah.
And I've always been a sucker for the way stages look and entrances for wrestling.
I thought they did a great job with that, too, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just makes me want to sit back and watch WrestleMania.
I know, dude.
And Limp Bizkit again. It almost felt like 17 all over, but with Crack Addict. Weird song, but
Dang, y'all couldn't find another song.
it worked. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we're going to move on now to the second round. I just want to make one small caveat, gentlemen, because we are running a little bit short on time here. We're going to go our next couple rounds now. We're going to give our picks, but we're going to spend a little bit less time talking. So that way, because we're trying to get through at least our top 4 each, okay?
Gotcha.
So we're moving on.
I think talking a lot for the first round makes sense.
Because it's our favorite.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, makes sense.
And I think we picked 4 great WrestleManias. These will probably be my top 4. So kudos to you, gentlemen. But looks like I'm kicking off now round 2. So for round 2, this one was tough for me. And I have these it's basically blank/blank. But I think, and I'm going to kind of toss them both up. But I think I'm going to go with WrestleMania 22 in my second round draft pick.
Good one.
So,
That's a good one. I just rewatched that too. That's
my pick.
Oh, you get your picnic? Yeah, so WrestleMania 22, really great. I'll keep this one short and sweet. I personally loved Vince McMahon versus Shawn Michaels. I thought that was an awesome street fight match. It was a little bit ridiculous at times, but I thoroughly enjoyed it. And then, of course, John Cena versus Triple H. That's one of my favorite matches of all time. Even though John Cena wins, I wasn't happy. I remember at the time I wasn't happy about it.
I was shocked. I was pissed.
I was pissed. I was. I mean, WrestleMania 22, full mark at this point for Hunter. I was pissed. But looking back now, and I just watched it the other day again, tremendous entrances. That was the first time, of course, we got the King of King entrances where he's Conan the Barbarian. Yeah. We got John Cena's entrance with, of course, the CM Punk. A nice cameo by CM Punk before he was known to fans of CM Punk. But overall, a really great WrestleMania. Check it out if you haven't seen in a while. Trish,
I haven't seen that one. To be honest with you, I've never seen that. I can sit here and honestly say, I was looking at it to see if I knew. I know this is the famous Cena with the Tommy gun deal with CM Punk and all those, but
you didn't watch it?
The cover, the funny thing is, like, the poster that they show is John Cena giving the face plant to Booker T.
Yeah, it's a terrible poster.
Yeah, and I'm like, but it's in the Rosemont Horizon. So it was, they went Madison Square Garden, Stadium, inside again, and then it was stadiums after that.
Well, LA,
right?
So no, 21 was LA. So they did
it
New
was still in
York,
the Staples Center?
New York's, yeah. So basically, it was New York, LA, Chicago, and then from
Then
23 on.
Got it.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I actually haven't seen 22, so I don't have any.
Also,
I'll say this to you, PJ, real quick. Sorry, Miguel. I know it's your pick. PJ, if you don't watch it, if you have the WWE Network, if you've never watched it, they're about to air a special. I don't know when, but it's between the match
Sunday.
that Edge and Mick Foley had at that particular WrestleMania. It was
Probably
like
stole the show.
street
That's not the
fight.
one where he does it through the fire table, is it?
yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Oh, then
That's
okay.
the
All
one.
right. Okay.
Yeah.
And I was going to say, to
But-
me, it's the sleeper of the night. That's the match that stole the show.
Yeah, I think so.
Fantastic match. So many great matches. I think Trish Stratus versus Mickey James was a great match.
Yeah, that was great. Yeah.
A lot of really good matches. But let's move on to our next person now, which I think is back to Nick, right? Did I get that right?
Yep.
I'm pumped up. I get my second pick. So I got to pick both of mine. And I'll be honest with you guys. I think the one that I'm about to pick, if I was just ranking them myself, would probably be number 3 on the list for me as my favorites. And again, I'm going back to the way it made me feel, the atmosphere. This would be the first WrestleMania that I ever went to live. And as a big sports fan, I've been to professional boxing matches. I've been to, Mets playoff games. I've been to Eagles playoff games. I've been to some of the biggest sports moments and seen some of the biggest things in the history of sports live. I could tell you with definitive, proof that the atmosphere for The Rock versus John Cena once in a lifetime was about as electric as any atmosphere I've ever been in a live arena or in a live stadium. And I'll never forget that. Whether it be, them playing the We Are Young song, then you have Machine Gun Kelly come out, then you have Flo Rida coming out and doing their whole big entrance. Besides all of that, you have the end of an era, one of the greatest Hell in a Cell matches of all time. You have one of my personal favorites, CM Punk, against Jericho in a great feud, best in the world versus best in the world. You got Sheamus bro kicking Daniel Bryan in the face in 5 seconds and really starting the Yes movement. That was the first time that I ever remember. Miguel, I know you were there too. When Sheamus won, like Sheamus got cheered going down to the ring. Sheamus was booed after he won. After the shock wore off, anytime they showed him on promos, he got booed. And you started to see little Yes things going. And to me, that was the birth of the Yes movement for Daniel Bryan. But that was, to me, one of the greatest WrestleManias. I was there live. The atmosphere was unlike anything. I think the only thing I could say, just from not being there but watching, was probably Hogan Andre. I can't think of other ones where the atmosphere was that monstrous, where it almost felt like a Super Bowl.
I'll say one quick comment on that show. Triple H, Undertaker, Hell in a Cell, greatest match I've ever seen live in person. I have any show, any paper.
Yeah, me too. Hands down. That was the first WrestleMania that I traveled for. Like I said, I went to 20 and then didn't go again until 28. And that was, it was just between that and Rock and Cena, that was going to be my next pick. So, Nick, good job. You got
Nice job.
You were there? You were there?
Yeah, that was the first one.
I remember the atmosphere. Like, am I wrong? And when for people that weren't there, like, they think, oh, it's pro wrestling. I'm telling you right now, it was like the Super Bowl.
Let me tell you, I stood up the entire main event.
Me too.
And I always remember this. I went with a buddy of mine, and after The Rock won, because a lot of people expected Cena's probably going to get the win, put Rock over.
And that's the other thing. It was not a predictable finish.
No, it wasn't. It was. I mean, not that you didn't really know, but most it's there's no way they're gonna at that time. remember where we were, 2012. I was like, I don't know. I can't see Rock losing, but there's no way they're going to have Cena lose. And I was really pulling for Rock.
Right.
And Rock, he went into Cena got cocked. Great finish. Did the booty people's elbow. Got it. Rock popped right up. Boom, rock bottom. 1, 2. I mean, I wouldn't do this now. But I like hugged the guy next to me that I didn't even fucking know. We were all like, ah! I was so excited.
I'm still doing it now.
What'd you say? You still doing it now? Ah, fuck it, right? What the hell? But that and then like end of an era. I mean, for me, I had a tear in my eye.
That was wild
with the moment of them on the stage up there. I mean,
bro, I almost got thrown out at end of an era. I'll tell you why. Huge Triple H.
Because Triple H lost.
Dude, no. When Shawn Michaels Sweet Chin Music's The Undertaker into a pedigree, and I grabbed my friend Jersino, who I was with. It was just me and him. I go, the streak is over. It's over. And it was 1, 2. And I kicked my chair. I go, you got to be fucking kidding me. And Scar comes over to me and he goes, one more time and you're out of here. I go, this is bullshit. I was so angry. That was probably the last time. That was probably the last time I truly marked out as a fan.
I remember when I thought to myself then, that Sweet Chin Music into the pedigree, I was like, holy fuck, it's over. Holy fuck, it's over. Oh no. This has to be it. And
what a wild ride that was.
Good shit. God damn, that's good shit, pal.
Good shit.
God damn. Good shit, pal.
Great pick. Fred, you're up, buddy.
Shit, can I take 28 again? Damn it. That was man. That was going to be my next one, ironically, but it's going to be hard to follow that because those two moments. But one I'm going to go with, and I think it's not one that people really, I don't feel talk about that much. And it was a sleeper WrestleMania, I think, going in was WrestleMania 31. I think that WrestleMania is highly underrated. Like we said, 19 was. I think 31 is. I mean, the fact that I know this is, a sore subject, not for Miguel, but that it Sting's only WrestleMania in a match, high-profile match against Triple H, I'm a huge Triple H fan, but that is one match I think there's no doubt Sting should have won that. I get now why he didn't, because of another great moment that would happen later on in the evening when Triple H came out, and then The Rock comes out to interrupt him, and Ronda Rousey gets involved, and that was the first time she ever done anything with them. That was a huge, and she was hot as hot in 2015, right?
Yeah, undefeated still. Yeah.
So that was a big deal. And she got physical, with Stephanie. It would be, come 3 years later to that awesome feud and match. But that was a big deal at the time. And great moment. That was supposed to set up Triple H and Rock at 32, which unfortunately didn't happen. But so I understood why you couldn't have Triple H lose and then do a big moment with The Rock, But so I get why, but I still wish Sting won that, but Taker coming back, not being seen since the streak, not on any Raws before or anything, and Bray Wyatt calling him out, and we didn't see Taker until then. That was awesome. They had a great match. Yeah, maybe some people think Bray should have won. For me, I was glad Taker won. I didn't want to see him lose 2 straight, And I know Roman was hated at the time, and they were trying to get him over, but a great match between Brock and Roman. We saw a little bit of blood, which wasn't happening then or still, but a little bit of blood. First time we heard Suplex City, bitch. That was amazing. And then, of course, the moment of the night, the Seth Rollins cash in. Everybody was paranoid Roman was going to get the win. I thought for sure he would. And they did the best thing they could have done. And Seth came out, who was a heel, but kind of liked. And he wasn't Roman, right? So just a great moment. First time and only time cash in at Mania.
The just tank, though, right? The tank is the highlight, right?
Oh, and well, that, what? I mean, talk about pushes that, got squandered, but we mentioned earlier with Booker T, but same could be said with Rusev. I mean, holy shit. Goes into WrestleMania against John Cena. Only been in the company for a year on the main roster. And has an amazing entrance. I thought Rusev was winning that, but really put him over.
You ever think about this? And I'll briefly, I was watching the Miro stuff on AEW, and I'm really his gear's terrible. I mean, I like him as a wrestler, but it's just, every time I think like, damn, man, Vince really missed the boat on this guy. I'm the biggest Cesaro fan there is. I love Claudio Castagnoli. I'm the biggest fan, right? And I'm always like, he deserves a fucking title run, right? He deserves it. But then I think like there's something that Vince knows that we all don't know. And so when I see Rusev in AEW, I'm like, that's it. I get it. Now I know why I didn't. He could have a tank. He doesn't need anything else. He brings out the tank, but he still gets to lose because Vince knows something we don't know, you know?
Right.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
I think, one thing, too, about 31, which was awesome, can't forget, is the curb stomp into an RKO is one of the best RKOs.
Oh, that, yeah. I mean,
dude, that's the wildest shit I've ever seen.
Their match was great, and then that finish was tremendous. Yeah, and then we talk about Sting and Triple H, but maybe one of the coolest moments in WrestleMania history, DX versus NWO. We never thought we'd see that, and that was fucking awesome.
Cool live moment, to say the least.
Yeah.
All right,
big
DJ,
time.
you're up, my friend. Second round. You have back-to-back now.
All right. I'm going to go WrestleMania 3. I
was waiting for somebody.
So I'm a big vintage guy. I love the older WWE stuff. WWF but there's reasons why this one's the best. One of the best. It's got Steamboat Macho Man, which is the greatest wrestling match of all time, right? Then you have Hogan body slamming Andre, which he wasn't the first person to do it, but he's the first person to do it where everyone knew that he did it. And he did it, and it's the most iconic thing because it's in the RCA Dome, right, in Indianapolis, and it is bright outside. The very first match, these people are going ape shit. I just watched it today. They're going ape shit for Martel and Zinc. This fucking never happened. Zinc hasn't gotten over ever. Okay, and they're going ape shit over the Can-Am connection. And it's just like this vibe. Aretha starts it, the whole deal. And I'm like, as a kid, I wasn't alive then, so I didn't see it live. But when I saw it, I was probably 6 or 7 years old, I would say, when I got the VHS. And just remember, like, damn, this is but it's bright outside at first, and then it gets darker, and then he body slams him, and it's the only thing you see are the fans in the first maybe 20 rows around, and just nothing but camera flash and him. And that's just a moment that's like, damn, that set off my fandom as a kid. I mean, it's not one of the only moments, but that's a big moment that I remember watching back. And all that stuff happening. And there was a lot of other cool matches and a lot of different things that were on the pay-per-view that was cool, that I really enjoyed. I also remember that's the first time. Yeah, exactly. And that's the first time Gorilla Monsoon says, and you'll hear this later, and I caught it today, is he gave Bret Hart the excellence of execution catchphrase. He says it in the opening match. And he's like, man, it's really an excellence of execution happening right now. And Bret Hart went on, to take that. So I thought that was kind of cool. That was a Gorilla Monsoon phrase, but so 3 is a top one for me, and then
before we'll move move on to your next one. You're saying, wait, hold on one second. The only thing I want to make quick comment about 3 is first time in a huge stadium, right? 93,000 or so, second largest crowd in WrestleMania history. So a lot of moments. Obviously, everybody there to see Andre versus Hulk Hogan, one of the biggest showcase spotlighted matches, not just in WrestleMania, but in wrestling history. I mean, one of the most iconic moments in wrestling history is when Hogan body slammed Andre the Giant.
And that probably
the Pontiac Silverdome, though.
Silverdome, it is Detroit, not Indianapolis. I'm sorry.
You pulled a Hogan.
I pulled a Hogan.
30.
I pulled a Hogan.
Yeah.
Oh,
Hoosier Dome was next year, but no, not next year.
No, it was.
That was 8.
4 years.
Yeah, 8, exactly 8.
But yeah, I mean, 3 will probably go down as the most iconic WrestleMania. Yes, 17 will probably go down as the best, but 3 will go down as the most iconic. Just the Hogan Andre. I mean, that is WrestleMania, and then Macho and Savage, Randy Macho Savage, Macho Man Savage,
Steamboat, man. Steamboat. Yeah, just what a title match.
In the house in an era that WWE really wasn't known for having amazing matches.
That's not their deal. Right? And I thought that was the cool part.
That was NWA. You know what I mean? But 3 is
3's a banger
itself.
All right, so before we're going to move on to round 3, but because of the interest of times, will be our last round. So PJ, give us your pick for the last round, my friend.
Dang, man, this is a tough one for me. I would say 12. 12 for me. I watched it live with my dad and my brother. I remember it like it was yesterday. I was 8 years old. Or I guess I was 8 or 9 at that time. And we had moved to a new house, right? And so I only got to watch a few pay-per-views a year, if that even. And I remember WrestleMania being a big one because my brother and sister liked Bret Hart. And I like Shawn Michaels, but there was a lot of stuff that was going on for me at that age. I just loved a lot of the things that were happening in that like 95 era, right? Where they had the weird entrance thing. And it was like, hey, we're not going to just come out of a curtain anymore. We're going to make this weird shaped thing that they're going to walk out of. But the Iron Man match to me is still one of the greatest. That feud lasted 3 years, right? I mean, basically two or 3 years, which is, you couldn't do that now. I mean, I know they're trying to do it with like the Bray thing and he brings up all the old stuff, but like in reality, it's really hard to do that nowadays. But 12 was just a banger. That's my favorite. Goldust and Roddy Piper, I just think is hilarious because they use the OJ footage. It was chasing them in the Bronco, which I think is hilarious. And then they come back in. But I also thought it was amusing that stuff that they did where they tried to put out. So Triple H at that time didn't have Sable, but he like loses to Undertaker or Ultimate Warrior in like 3 minutes, not even. I think it's like actually 45 seconds or something stupid.
Yeah.
There's just a lot of weird stuff going on at that time. It was a weird transition phase, but I just 12 was special for me because I did watch it live. I had it on VHS. I taped it. You know, one of those things I watched. I watched a lot of pay-per-views during that time when Shawn Michaels was really blowing up during that time. So that's a top one for me.
And of course, the iconic moment of Shawn Michaels coming down, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's unbelievable, right? At that time, Sting wasn't doing that yet. So you didn't see it all the time, right? You didn't see the whole thing of coming down on the zip wire. But their buildup was probably my favorite part, right? Because they're talking about he's training with Lothario all the time now, and they're showing him with the boyhood dream and all this stuff. And it's just man. And Bret Hart's about to turn heel at that point, really. I mean, he's really starting to be like, all right, I've had enough of you Americans. You know, this bullshit. It's, but I just what a banger of a main event. And that does it for me. I don't even remember the tag match on there, and I'm a tag guy, but like, I just, 12 definitely one of those ones for me.
Good stuff. Fred, last pick, brother.
Yeah, so the one I'm going to go with is honestly one that I'm surprised it took this long to get here for this particular WrestleMania. I'm going with WrestleMania 18. I mean, Rock Hogan, need I say more? I know we're trying to make it short, and that's short as it's going to get. Rock Hogan.
I was going to say that too. That was I had those at 3 and 4. I had 12 and 18, but I was like, I just can't decide.
Triple H won the undisputed title. Always comes back to the game, baby.
He did now, and yeah, I mean, to hindsight 2020, Rock Hogan should have closed, and today they probably would have. But at the time, nothing was going last besides the title. I don't know if that. I think today maybe would have been a little bit different. But I mean, yeah, that Rock Hogan obviously is the match. But Triple H and Jericho had a great match. Couldn't follow. Obviously, nobody could follow Rock Hogan. But Taker and Flair in an awesome match. Yeah. I know Stone Cold hated it, but I enjoyed Stone Cold and Scott Hall.
Dude, Scott Hall taking that stunner is still one of the best. He takes the stunner. I mean, that's one of the most iconic.
Oh yeah, him and Rock take the best stunners by far.
Oh, by far. Yeah, I like first WrestleMania for RVD, first WrestleMania for Booker T. Oh. So DDP, his first and only WrestleMania, keeps. I think
what a miss.
I think he keeps the European title. I don't think he won it. I think he kept it. Yeah, just a great WrestleMania, but I mean, for Rock Hogan alone, it didn't need anything else.
Fans
Skydome
that show for sure. Fans in that Rock Hogan match. Great pick, Fred. Nick, you're up, sir.
So PJ kind of telegraphed my next pick, but my next pick took place at the RCA Dome, and I know PJ mentioned the first Mania he remembers watching live. This would be the first one that I remember watching live, and there's a lot to love about this pay-per-view. Whether it be Bret Hart versus Roddy Piper, which to me is one of the great matches of all time, and you also have the Undertaker's first face match with Jake the Snake Roberts, which is hilarious to me when he's like, whose side are you on? He's like, not yours, which is hilarious to me. But
the Kane voice before Kane.
right?
Exactly. But to me, it all, and they also had, Randy Macho Man Savage and Ric Flair in really an Attitude Era style feud with, like, did he bang Elizabeth? Like, what's going on here? I remember feeling very uncomfortable with that. And I specifically remember buying the WWE magazine that had, like, they advertised pictures of Ric Flair and Miss Elizabeth from their time together. And I remember thumbing through it and feeling very uncomfortable as a small child. So I do remember that one distinctly, but it all comes down to my favorite wrestler of all time as a kid, the Ultimate Warrior. And I know the main event's not a great main event, between Hulk Hogan and Sid, and there's some botched stuff going on with Papa Shango and stuff. But when Bobby the Brain Heenan says he doesn't have a friend left, and then you hear the music that dun 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 dun, and like everybody goes nuts, and you see the Warrior, still gives me chills. One of the great wrestling moments of all time. As a kid, Fred talks about how every Monday Night Raw he's jumping on his chair. But for me, as like a small child, that was my jumping on a chair moment. Seeing the Ultimate Warrior coming down, short hair and all. Incredible.
A body double, right?
I will say I kept all my VHSs that I had from to a certain extent, but I would go and I would try to buy them when they would sell them. And so I have 2 in the original packaging. I have 8 with the original box because I was like, it's so weird. The one thing I remember about 8 outside of, like, I love that pay-per-view. 8's one of my favorites because of the way it's lined up. It's similar to 3 and the whole deal. But is the fact that I never got to see the Davey Boy Smith 6-man tag that's supposed to be on there, because when you start the tape, it says, due to time constraints, a pay-per-view, I'm not able to show this match. And I'm like, well, this is crap. I don't like this at all. And I remember the Shawn Michaels and Sherry thing with the mirror and all. Just a great pay-per-view. I love 8. Big fan of 8. I thought it was great. I did think think about that. Papa Shango was in the main event at WrestleMania. What a
Hall
time.
of Famer. Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
What a time to be alive. And there were no hoes. I was disappointed.
Yeah.
Older than me, I'm like, damn, wait a second. Why are there no hoes with Kama Mustafa?
Good pick. All right, so I have the last one here. We're going to close it out for Best WrestleManias. Nick, this is going to be a nod to you. I know you're going to like this one. I'm going WrestleMania 21. And a big part of that reason is the greatest slow build, in my opinion, of all time, Triple H versus Batista. The match of the night.
Definitely one of them.
The feud of the year, I would say, in 2005. Phenomenal WrestleMania. I was so angry when Batista beat Triple H. And not only did he beat him at WrestleMania, but he beat him 2 more pay-per-views in a row afterwards. And at the time, Triple H wasn't losing. He wasn't losing like that 3 in a row. So to see him put Batista on the map like that, it was tremendous. Absolutely tremendous for Batista's career. But for the WrestleMania itself, 21 was a lot of fun. When Hogan comes out at WrestleMania 21, the place I thought was shaking. I remember watching that live and saying, shit, I wish I'm there right now. I wish I was in LA, in Hollywood right now, watching this moment happen, right? So great WrestleMania, a lot of great moments there. I'll keep it short and sweet because I know we're going to.
That's the one where Ultimo Dragon, though, comes out and trips on stage, right? During the Cruiserweight deal? The gauntlet match? That's the one in Hollywood.
I think that was 20, wasn't it?
Was it 20?
Maybe
I thought it was 20. Either way, nonetheless, I do think the Batista Triple H thing, I will say this. I think everybody knocks Triple H for doing all. I was like, let's not forget the stars that he built and the stars that he continues to build for pro wrestling. But that Batista deal, man, was a huge. Batista winning was, I mean, you're setting his life in motion at that point, right? I mean, he went from Deacon Batista, nobody, to Evolution, and then to that deal, and now everybody in Evolution had been a world champion at that time. It was like, damn, this is wow. This is wow. And then you're right. So I watch a lot of years, and I start right after WrestleMania when I pick years, and I'll go through. And 05, I would skip. I go from WrestleMania, so I go to the next one. And it's like, damn, Batista beats Triple H again. I'm like, shit, he's whooping that ass. Or Miguel.
One of the greatest calls too from JR says the animal has been unleashed. I mean, like, it was just a tremendous WrestleMania all year. Definitely go back and check that out. But that closes us out with the best WrestleManias of all time. Now, I asked you gentlemen before we went on air, and we're going to do this very, very quickly, but I want you just to quickly, in 30 seconds or less, each of you, give your worst WrestleMania of all time. PJ, I'll go with you. I think we kind of all agreed what we all think is our worst, but...
Actually, I'm not. I'll tell you, the worst one is WrestleMania 1. I looked back. It's just real bad. It's like every match is like 4 minutes or 6. It's real terrible. And the main event is Mr. T, Hogan versus Orndorff and Piper. Like, I couldn't think of a match I'd want to see less than that.
It's amazing how that was so cool back in '85.
Followed up it too with a boxing match. So even more shit I care less about. I 2 holds a special place in my heart because of the main event and things, but 1 is, in my opinion, WrestleMania 1 is the worst WrestleMania.
All right, Fred, yours? You can take 9 if you want. If that's
You know what? I think 9 is a given. I don't think anybody should pick 9. I think 9 should just be there, right? It's,
all right,
it's
you
9.
take 9. Go ahead. Give one.
I'm going with 11.
Yes, by call. I was about to say. I know he's going to say.
Can you imagine in 2021 having a main event of Bam Bam Bigelow versus LT? That would not happen today. That would not happen.
I can't think of it. Would have to be like Patrick Mahomes or something. I couldn't think of somebody that could.
No celebrities main. I mean, yes, I know Bad Bunny's on the card this year, but he is not the main event.
You don't know that yet. You don't know.
No, we don't know that yet. It could happen. I mean, the stranger things have happened. But, and that's nothing against LT. He put on a great performance. And, LT is LT. There's no doubt about it. But that wouldn't happen today. But
11's real bad.
Yeah. I mean,
short of Jenny McCarthy, 11
and Pamela Anderson.
Yeah.
I mean, Shawn and Diesel had a great match. But
everything else sucked. Yeah, I get it.
Besides Shawn and Diesel... And I'll even give the main event the benefit of the doubt because it was a high-profile match, in the news, LT. So I'll give it the main event. So you had the main event, and you had Shawn and Diesel. The rest of that card was terrible.
Yeah.
Nick,
what about you, Nick?
I'll keep mine super, super sweet. WrestleMania 27. The Miz shouldn't be in the main event, and when you're looking at matches that probably should have never happened, Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole is probably the worst WrestleMania match of all time. So I'll pick that. I mean, honestly, it probably would be 9, and there were some good matches. You had Orton Punk, you had Triple H Undertaker.
Oh, Triple H Undertaker.
Cody against Ray. So you had some good matches. Every WrestleMania does. Jerry Lawler versus Michael Cole. Kill me now. That Miz Cena main event was weird. The Rock opening the show for 25 minutes was odd. It just wasn't a great Mania.
27 holds a special place in my heart because that was my
first. I know.
But it wasn't very good. But at the time, I was like, this is tremendous because I was there.
Yeah, of course.
And Triple H versus Undertaker was one of the most phenomenal matches.
Oh, yeah, Triple H versus Undertaker was, they stole the show.
Orton Punk was great.
Orton Punk was really good, too.
Yeah.
You guys took all 3 of my bottom ones. And if I can't use 9, because 9 was also on my bottom, so those are my 4 bottom ones. I'm just going to say 2. I know you say you like it, PJ, but I thought 2 was terrible.
It's real bad. I mean, it's not real good. It's in 3 different cities. It's like a weird Great American Bash thing they had going on. It's bad.
What I'll say about the early ones is obviously, it was a different time back then, and Vince was just trying to get it off the ground. And obviously 3 is the one that put him at the map. But I think the first 5 really aren't that great. Besides 3 is okay. 3 is pretty good, but 1, 2 were terrible. I didn't think 4 was that great. 5 was okay. 6 obviously was I thought really good. 7, but I'm gonna go with 2. Keep it nice and short and sweet. To me, one of the most terrible WrestleManias.
I was gonna say 7's probably up there just because Ultimate Warrior put them in a terrible situation. And then it was supposed to be outside, of course, and then the whole they think they're gonna murder Sergeant Slaughter, which in retrospect, I don't know that it would have been that bad, but I do. The funny thing about 2, and I'll just 2, I love 2 for 2 reasons. I didn't know, I liked the Royal Rumble. Battle Royals are like the worst thing of all time. I don't like Battle Royals. I like Royal Rumbles because they come in separately. I don't like Battle Royals. But that Battle Royal was really cool, right? Because it was like a mix of random NFL players, and William Perry's in there for some odd reason, and Bret Hart and Jim the Anvil are in blue, and they're the last two left against Andre. That was kind of cool. So two's, but yeah, that one's the first ones are pretty bad. Two's just cool because Hogan, of course, is like on a streak then. But we didn't get a chance to talk about 6. But from a build-up perspective, that's the first one that they really had from a build-up perspective, like promo, the whole deal, like the powers, like the
Mega
Ultimate Powers, whatever their deal was, the whole thing was called. And that was in the Sky Dome too, right? That was in Toronto, right? The first one that was in Toronto.
Mm-hmm.
Toronto.
Yep.
Man, 6, what a banger, dude. WrestleMania,
Turned the stadium there for a couple.
That's why I love about Vince McMahon. We just keep talking about
when
it.
you're done. When everybody's done watching this, when you 3 are done watching this, YouTube Jake the Snake Roberts promo WrestleMania 6 is easily one of the greatest promos in wrestling history. Just watch it. You 3 do it. If you don't remember it, watch it right after
I've seen it, but I can't recall.
Watching this at home, it is one of the greatest promos of all time. Jake the Snake Roberts, WrestleMania 6 promo.
All his promos were great. I just watched 7 because it was 30 years ago.
Oh, the blindfold with Rick Martel, right?
Yeah, and his promo for that was great. Who did he face at 30 at 6?
$1 Million Man.
Oh, is that where he says, "Isn't it where the money that you gravel for is your very own"? Yep. Yeah, that's good.
The greatest promo.
That's good shit. I couldn't remember. For some reason, I thought it was Dusty and DiBiase at 6, but no, it was Dusty and Macho King. Or I think maybe it was a tag, Dusty and Sapphire versus Savage.
Oh yeah, she never comes out. No, that's a different. That's a SummerSlam? I thought. Yeah, where she never comes out. She's supposed to tag with them, and they never come out.
There is a SummerSlam where
does he tag with Sapphire? You're right. That is 6. You are right that he does tag with Sapphire, and she wrestles at certain points against Sherry, and you're like, what is going on?
Yeah.
Damn, what a time to be alive.
6 was good. You had fucking Nikolai Volkov singing in the shower while Steve Allen was playing the piano. And the best part of the night was Robert Goulet doing the fucking Canadian national anthem.
Yes. Exactly.
Unfortunately, you can't even watch Piper and Bad News Brown anymore because they cut it.
No, I know, which I get because I can't believe that stayed on the network. I love how now like WWE Network, like because it still exists overseas, is like, yeah, we deleted that too.
Yeah, we got rid of it too. It's fine.
That's kind of a bad look. Peacock got rid of it, but we're like, it's still here. They got rid of it.
I love it.
Yeah, it is. I mean, can you imagine today? Holy shit!
Yeah, they do it every week. Yeah. They put R-Truth out there just mocking it every week. It's just
that'll probably get criticized 20 years from now.
Oh God, they're like, man, we literally let him walk out there. God, at least Big E's doing things for the movement, for the culture. That's right. I love that.
He did both at the same time.
I love it.
Nation, a domination.
I love it. If D'Lo Brown was still around, we'd do it.
You can tell we're all excited for WrestleMania. So really fun episode, guys. We'll be back obviously next week to give our WrestleMania 37 2-night prediction. So PJ, thanks for coming on, buddy. How can the guests find you if they want to check you out?
And y'all can check me out on Twitter. It's official PJ North. Everywhere else, it's the PJ North. It's the, if you're from Ohio, the PJ North. On Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, YouTube, all those, man, check it out. Again, I appreciate y'all having me on. I love to talk wrestling, so thanks for having me, guys.
Absolutely.
One more thing, just to put PJ over. After you watch Jake the Snake Roberts promo WrestleMania 6, make sure you watch that. Then after that, YouTube Beers We Haven't Drank Yet, which is easily my personal favorite song that PJ North does. I'm not a country fan.
That, man. Thank you.
My favorite song by far.
I appreciate it. We got more new music coming out in 2021. I'm very excited about it. Hopefully you guys will all check it out.
Me too.
We'd love to be back on. We'll talk some more wrestling. Migs, I hope you guys enjoy WrestleMania in person, live in full effect in Tampa.
Can't wait.
I hope it's a great time.
Can't wait. And guys, as always, check out all of our shows on TruExactRadio.com. You can also check it on the True Exact Radio YouTube page, Spotify, iTunes, the podcast app on iPhones as well, too. So we'll be back next week, guys. Appreciate you guys tuning in and hope everyone is excited for WrestleMania. Thanks, guys.
Peace.